Okay. Awesome. Thank you. But it's really not.
The review is so good. I'm not touch that.
So whichever you like, I just didn't want to leave you with less than you.
No, Councilor Lepper.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
Good evening. I would like to call to order at 6:25 the Community Development Committee meeting. Roll call, please.
Alderman Rivera,
Present.
Alderman Moisio, Alderman Florian. Here. Alderman Hayes,
Present.
Alderman Turner.
Here.
Thank you. If I could please have a motion to approve the minutes of the Community Development Committee meeting of Monday, August 2nd, 2021.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Florian,
Second.
seconded by Alderman Hayes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item D. Any opposed?
Motion
None.
passed.
I want to change my vote. No. I'm just
Motion
kidding.
passed, thank you. Okay, the next item, item D, motion to approve the minutes of the Special Community Development Committee meeting of Monday, August 16th, 2021.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Florian, seconded by Alderman Hayes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? None? Thank you very much. Okay, item number 2, audience time. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak?
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I probably wasn't speaking in this. Hi, everyone. I just want to come and speak briefly about this Waukegan Casino Impact Assessment.
I'm sorry, can you state your name?
Sorry.
We all know who you are, but
I'm David Villalobos, 4th Ward resident.
thank you.
I want to speak briefly on this impact. The presentation is going to be today. One of the things that caught my eye when I was reading through this assessment is the assumptions. So in any analysis, fiscal analysis, there's going to be assumptions made. And the assumptions made for this one are based off of the proposals. Now, the question we need to ask ourselves, are those proposals based in what our state looks like? And looking at the Illinois State Gaming Board's reports for revenue for all the casinos across the state, there's a couple of things that are really glaring to me. For one, the size of the casinos. In the state of Illinois, the largest casino is Rivers Casino, which is about 50,000, according to the Illinois State Boards of Gaming's annual reports. So all the square footage for the casinos proposed for Waukegan are like the largest in the state. So that's going to impact what the analysis looks like. Also, the revenues, gross revenues for the standardized year of 191.8 million, also would put Waukegan in like number 2 in revenues for the state of Illinois over the past like 4 years. You can look this up through the gamings for fiscal years that passed. But these analysis, again, really impacts the way this projection looks like for our tax base potential and the job growth potential. So the question and critical thing for me is understanding that these assessments, and I'm not questioning the numbers behind it because the numbers do actually make sense. And I don't know what the scope was that was given to the consultant on what they should be looking at specifically for this report. But it would benefit us to have more information regarding comparison to what an average casino looks like in the state of Illinois, square footage-wise, revenue-wise, and things of that nature. And that would probably give us more light on actually what this analysis really means to us and the potential this could have. But also, just so you know, too, like, I'm not in favor of casino, but again, we need to know what the numbers really tell us. And this, to me, is a slightly skewed analysis because it's going off proposals only from the proposers, and they're going to want to hide their numbers, rose-colored lenses on their proposals. Again, they're proposing the largest casinos in Illinois, 130,000 square feet is almost triple the 50,000 of Rivers Casino. So again, just knowing what we're looking at, those comparisons really impact the way we could assess this, to understand this assessment. So I just want to bring that up for you guys to be aware of. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Thank you. That concludes audience time. Item number 3 is old business, and we have none. So moving along, we're going to item number 4, which is new business. In item A, we have an amendment to the Waukegan, North Chicago Enterprise Zone, an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with the City of North Chicago.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions?
I was just going to clarify that this is these are the items that we did the public hearing on at the last meeting. And we brought this back up through committee because we're actually putting the 2 items that were discussed at the public hearing, specifically the ordinance amending the enterprise zone and approval of the IGA that the enterprise zone was created pursuant to with North Chicago. So the reason that the exact same things that you saw 2 weeks ago are back on is because they are actually up for consideration, and they will be on the main agenda tonight.
Thank you. Okay, the first was Alderman Florian. The second was?
No.
I'm sorry. Motion by Alderman Turner, seconded by Alderman Florian. Roll call, please.
Alderman Hayes?
Aye.
Alderman Turner?
Aye.
Alderman Florian?
Aye.
Chairman Rivera?
Aye. Thank you. Item B, Program Year 2020 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, otherwise known as CAPER, for Community Development Block Grant CDBG as presented. May I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Alderman Turner makes the motion. Alderman Florian seconds it. Any questions? No questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Hayes?
Aye.
Alderman Turner?
Aye.
Alderman Florian?
Aye.
Chairman Rivera?
Aye, thank you. Item C. Item C is a motion to approve an ordinance creating a Class A liquor license for Megaforce Reggae Lounge at 3447 Sunset Avenue. May I have a motion and a second?
For me.
I'll make the motion.
Alderman Turner makes the motion. A second? Just to get it moving forward.
Okay, I'll second.
Alderman Florian, thank you very much. Any questions and concerns regarding this?
Yep.
Alderman Florian.
So this gentleman had come before us previously trying to get a video gaming parlor. Back when we were still on Zoom, I don't know when that was, back in March, maybe?
You could be
February,
right, yeah.
March. The last time I looked, the map, what do you call that, the site plan or whatever, had not changed for what he was proposing for this. And now he's saying he's going to be a bar and a restaurant. There's still no kitchen listed. He still had the area for the gaming stuff there. I'm just concerned about the viability of I don't know. Alderman Turner?
Great, thank you. Alderman Turner?
So my understanding is that he's not going to serve food. He's not going to have a kitchen or anything. No food involved at all.
Okay.
And apparently he recycled the site plan, and I would recommend that we hold this over and have him modify the site plan to correctly illustrate the layout that it's not going to include any gaming machines.
It didn't, he never corrected it, Noel?
That's my understanding that he didn't.
Okay.
But the application does not include gaming machines, right? It's just
It's
the
just
site
a
drawing.
liquor, yes.
You have a member of the audience is, I don't know if you want to recognize.
Yes, there's a member in the audience that has a comment.
Mr.
Yes, please. Can you please state your name?
Thanks for having me. Courtney Stevens, and I am the owner for the Megaforce Reggae Lounge, and I just want to speak on that. And that's
You can speak into the microphone.
Courtney Stevens, and I am the owner for that Megaforce Reggae Lounge, and I'd like to speak to this submission for your approval. Henceforth, thank you.
There you go.
So indeed, I did do a complete revamp, given that I will not be applying for any video gaming, no restaurant. I just simply wanted to have a tavern, and that tavern is just basically going to be for liquor, and there will be no food as a restaurant as such would be catered there. I did went and reapply and do all necessities that is needed for a tavern.
Right.
I'm just kindly asking for your approval with this initiative here so I can move forward with this business plan.
So the issue, sir, is that, if I may. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please.
So the issue is that in your site plan, the drawing of the layout of the facility, you also include in there, it has a portion identified for video gaming and seating for that. And that's what the question is. And I'm wondering, maybe Mr. Attorney, Mr. Weiss can answer, can we modify that site plan here, maybe, Noel? Can we modify the site plan in this sitting and just pass this through? Or?
No, well, if there are questions as to, yeah, and the materials that the aldermen are looking at is a submission from January 19th, 2021. Has the applicant, did you submit a new liquor license application?
Yes, I did. I sure did. And so it must have been an oversight because I did a complete new application, new liquor license, everything.
Okay.
So it must have been an oversight. I apologize if that came to
So what I think would be appropriate would be to hold this over for 2 weeks, have a special meeting of community development to allow the committee to take a look at the actual updated application, have any questions, and possibly even have staff, if they have any questions for you in advance, so to bring this back at the next meeting, but not to unnecessarily hold up the applicant.
With the corrected site plan?
With a corrected, if there is a new application, because the one that was uploaded and appears to be the one that was submitted originally back in January. So if there's a new one that does not show gaming and just shows the tavern and has that information, I think it would be appropriate to hold this over until the committee's had a chance to review it.
Okay, so do we need a motion to hold it over?
If you're going to hold it over to a date specific, and if you're going to have a special committee meeting, you don't have to do that. That was just my suggestion. A motion and a roll call would be appropriate on that.
Yeah, I would say that way we can move along and not wait a whole month. We can do it in 2 weeks and get this done. All right?
So what's the dates?
The 20th.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to hold this line item over until September 20th.
20th. We'll have a special meeting on September 20th.
Special meeting of the Community Development Committee on September 20th.
Okay, so the motion is by Alderman Turner, seconded. Alderman Hayes, roll call, please.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Chairman Rivera.
Aye.
Great, so
Okay.
we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you very much. All right, the next item is item D, and there has been a request to go into special session for this item.
There was a request to go into closed session to discuss pending litigation under the exception to the Open Meetings Act. that would require a roll call vote.
Do we need a motion?
Motion to go into
Motion to go into
closed session to discuss item of litigation related to this line item.
by
I'll
Alderman
second.
Turner, seconded by Alderman Florian. Roll call, please.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Chairman Rivera.
Aye. Okay, we'll be right back. Okay,
Okay. You can call it back to order. Have Noel do a roll call, and then you can ask for a vote. And if there's any questions, I can answer them.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call back to order the Community Development Committee meeting. Roll call, please.
Chairman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo. Alderman Florian.
Present, here.
Alderman Hayes.
Present.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Thank you. I would like to take a motion for item D, 200 North Green Bay Road, conditional reinstatement of Class E restaurant liquor license.
There needs to be a motion to recommend.
I'll make the motion.
Motion to recommend approval of resolution approving settlement and reinstatement agreement with Stretches Bar and Grill, an ordinance reinstating Class E restaurant liquor license for 200 North Green Bay Road.
I'll make the
By
motion.
Alderman Turner,
Second?
seconded by Alderman Florian. Roll call, please.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Chairman Rivera.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Item E, resolution adopting terms for CDBG funding for City Code Compliance Enforcement Program. May I have a first
First.
by Alderman Hayes, seconded by Alderman Turner. Any questions regarding this motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Hayes.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Chairman Rivera.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. The next item, item number 5, reports and communication. We have an economic and fiscal impact analysis. And do we have the gentleman that's, thank you very much. If you could please come up.
Yeah.
Okay, can you state your name, please, sir?
Yes.
Thank you.
My name's Charlie Johnson. I'm president of Johnson Consulting, and our office is at 6 East Monroe Street, Chicago, Illinois.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm here today to provide a summary of our report that we prepared for economic and fiscal impact analysis on the proposed casino in Waukegan. And I'm going to limit my remarks and then answer questions as you may have them
Thank you.
after I'm finished. Bear with me. Well, I can go ahead and get started as we get the graphics going. Our job was really to help understand the impact of employment, what kind of impact it'll have on the tax base, what the current tax base, as well as the grown tax base with the gaming added in, and then also show you what the specific gaming components for tax revenue are. And then we also showed the impact of increased demand on city services. And I think that's an important question, and I think we're going to get through all those questions as we go forward. Next slide. The gentleman who spoke today is correct. We have not done a market study per se, but we have used the data from 5 bidders, one of which was eliminated and one of which dropped out. So we use the information from those bidders, all of which operate casinos in the market area in the region. And so we felt it's a fair and I know this city is going to want to do a lot more work once the Illinois Gaming Commission has identified its various gaming partner that it will want the city to proceed with. So we're going to be tightening these numbers down, but we had to use, in the absence of anything else, the casino proposals, and we basically took a mathematical average of those just as a starting point so we could gauge the scale of the numbers. And I think the materiality of our numbers is we're within 10 to 15% up or down of the numbers. And I think at this level, that's probably reasonable. I think it's reasonable to make decisions on, and that's what we're going to speak about. The gentleman did observe the gaming floor, which is located at the top, and he's correct. One of the observations is 130,000 square feet. That's not what we would recommend for this market. And so the right sizing of it is we got it to 84,000. That's still large, but that'll be right size as the next wave of work happens. But to be clear, this is the framework. The average of the other proposals that we advanced to the Illinois Gaming Commission is the database that we use to arrive at our information. So you asked what the impact on employment would be. Next slide. You asked what the impact on employment will be. So what is the economic impact? What kind of jobs will be created? How will the casino impact other employers in the area? And will the dynamics in the job market change it so the current employees in the marketplace will be pushed out of jobs, et cetera? And I think, the next slide, please. The next slide, I think, illustrates that those fears are unfounded in our mind. This will be a net add in a big way to the economy of Waukegan and also Lake County, and I think the state overall. It'd be a positive benefit. What we show here is the fact that we have, for every $1 million spent, there will be 10 jobs created. And what that illustrates, that's the bottom number there, 9.7 jobs for every $1 million spent. And when we have the type of spending and the size of spending that will be created by this casino, which we believe on average will be reasonable on the numbers that they've put forth in the 4 casinos. When we took the average, we believe that those numbers are in the right realm of reasonableness, materiality-wise. So when we look at this, we take it and we look at the jobs and we look at all the spending, and we're going to talk about the nature of these jobs in the next slide. So when we look at the various types of jobs, you'll see lodging is a natural one. Government does, in fact, experience quite an increase, but that's at all levels. That's with police, that's at the state level to administer the new casino. There's all kinds of administration that happens. That is not an attack on the city of Waukegan's budget. You're not going to be hiring 351 new employees, but they will. Lake County will have an influence, the city will have an influence. But all in all, this will be a fairly well-distributed employment mix. And we estimate that 53% of the jobs will come from the city itself. The surrounding communities is still in Lake County, and Illinois will represent another 30%. And then Lake County, and then elsewhere, even outside the state, will import jobs in. There will be some jobs that will come from a variety of different places, but I think the preponderance of jobs would likely come from this community. I asked us about tax base. Next slide. Thank you. I asked us about tax base. So what is our current tax base? Big picture, $70 million. And we'll get into those numbers in a little bit. What's this casino going to do? Is it going to increase the tax liability and the burden? Is it going to make people have to pay more taxes, or is it going to be a net positive? So let's look at the numbers. Next slide. This illustrates So we wanted to just, first of all, on the gaming tax, we wanted to illustrate what the share has been distributed to communities in Illinois. So when we look at the $15 million that we project for you all, you look at it in context of the other 15 casinos in Illinois, and your number's right in there from a distribution standpoint when we look at the $15 million. So that's one kind of gauge that we have. We know our number is not too far out of line if it's wrong at all. We also wanted to look at the overall, so we look at the sales tax, the hotel tax, F&B tax, which you receive, and property tax. And when you look at Illinois communities, property tax is really the preponderance of revenue that are generated. So we have to be hypersensitive to that and what's going to happen to values, but also sales tax is very important. So when we look at the various taxes that you have here, again, you have close to a $70 million budget between those items. And then we look at the context of what's going to happen without gaming, and when we look at what we believe is going to happen on the next slide, there will be some shakeout. Some of the people, some jobs will change. There will be some video gaming consumption or cannibalization that happens, but it's not big in context to the positives that are going to be happening in terms of job creation and new activities. So there will be a minuscule amount in terms of the context of everything of shakeout that happens. Some employees will, there's more job opportunities, but some jobs will be different. And I think that that's what we want to say. And we don't think it's going to price people out. I think that a lot of dynamics are already happening in the job market with respect to bidding up wages, minimum wage increases, et cetera. So all that stuff is background that's happening. And when the gaming comes into the marketplace, it's our judgment that'll be a force multiplier to make things better and give opportunity to more people in the city. And people could be fearful of that. I could see that. This is a big thing that's going to change and everything. I think when you look at the context that we've seen across the country and in the case studies that we reported on in our report, it's been a positive for the residents of the communities with respect to growth and income overall in those case study cities that we looked at. So now we're going to look at the gaming taxes and what's going to happen to the tax base once gaming taxes come into play, but then take into account that small decrease that could happen on property values, but we don't think is going to happen, that shakeout table that we showed. Next slide. All right, this illustrates the tax revenue that will be generated. And then we also look at the various categories of taxes. So the impacts are going to be citywide, because you're going to have more restaurants having more food eaten in them, more hotels stayed in outside of the casino itself. So there's a myriad of tax benefits that happen outside of the gaming taxes. And we see that those certainly exceed what any costs the city would bear with respect to overhead the city would have to endure. So when we look at these numbers, we see the tax revenue generated by the gaming is about $86 million. And then there's additional taxes that come in from admissions. And then the city already will receive supplemental sales tax, hotel tax, and food and beverage tax. And then it also receives its property tax, which is dedicated to the TIF for its the city's improvements for the land and reimbursement for the land, et cetera. Next slide. So this slide illustrates the change to the tax base. So at one juncture, your tax base is now 68 plus or minus million. We're going to be adding $18 million to that, plus the increment to the TIF. So a very substantive increase to the tax base of the city of Waukegan with this opportunity. And so, if the numbers are right, and I believe that they are, because we have the frame of reference of other casinos that we looked at and that are in Illinois. So ours, we look at the strength of this market and the power of the economic wealth that's in this quadrant of the greater Chicagoland area. I think our numbers do match up with what the current expectations and performance of other gaming markets are. So we're right in line with our projections for this project. Next slide. Okay, what is the impact on city services? Okay, there will be increase in fire. There will be increase in other services, but we have found that the amount of increase in taxes, the amount of cost associated with generating those increase in taxes is minuscule with respect to the overall tax collections that will be generated. So you may have to spend, we showed that 1.2 or 2.4 million in the adjustment. That's where your increase is already reflected, and that would be the materiality of what the increases would be. And then you have some revenue streams that will be compensatory. You'll have more water sales, which is a big utility grabber. This is a big user of water. It's not like a giant industrial, but it will be equivalent to, say, 5 of 6 of the area largest hotels all added together. That's the kind of scale that we would see in terms of water. Next slide. So, 2 things, and I think as you all go further down the pike and look at this, we've spent a lot of time working with Hammond, Indiana, and I think that that's a very good reflection. The model economies are different, but that's the southern end of the greater Chicagoland, and this is kind of the northern end. And what they've achieved and the wisdom that they've used to spend their tax dollars, they've really improved the lot of the residents of Hammond. Mm-hmm. So I think the policy decisions, this is an opportunity that you have that will exceed any cost structure that you're going to experience and give you an opportunity. And I think Hammond, and we also looked at Springfield, Massachusetts, which is kind of more of an urban casino, but it's, I think, similar economic profiles, and I think that we've relied a lot on those 2 to look at the cost structures, the influences and impacts that they've had, and I think that these conclusions that we've drawn are really indicative of what we think you're going to experience. And it's really not, there will be improvements and there will be costs, but they're not enormous by any stretch of the imagination. They're minuscule with respect to the tax revenues that you'll be generating. And I'm very comfortable with concluding that. Next slide. So, in summary, the casino will generate 2,800 jobs. And we saw a lot of those will be coming from the Waukegan marketplace, whether they're new arrivals or existing residents. So over 50% of the jobs will come. I think it is reasonable that the jobs will be filled by current residents. They will be importing. I think the white collar, the administrative, and the super senior management will be imports to the Waukegan marketplace, and there'll be new residents. But then you'll be serving, a lot of your jobs will be oriented towards the Waukegan current population base. Now, when we look at all the tax revenues, there's a substantive gain to the tax base. We estimate that $20 million, excluding, between the TIF and then the gaming taxes on top of that, are another $15 million. I think the last question, next slide, please. So we see this spend in the amount, the fiscal, of $162 million, 89 million going to the tax of the Illinois Gaming Commission, and then they rebate back their proportion. And I showed you that it was going down slightly in the state in the last 5 years, except for 2018 and 19. We're talking millions, not hundreds of millions of dollars of decline. So it may have gone from 80 million to 78 million in terms of the distribution amounts. So, it's competitive in this marketplace. Gaming is a mature market, I think is the way to say it. So when you put in a new venue, there will be sharing of the existing pie, but then the management team grows the existing, the pie as well. So we feel very comfortable that the development will really accomplish what the city wants if they manage it properly, and if the gaming partner that you choose does what they're supposed to do as per the agreement. Okay, the next slide and the last slide really speaks to what are the remedies, let's say, or what can the city do to protect itself. And the number one thing that we think is going to be required is a good asset manager inside the city government to really pay attention to this asset. You know, a couple people that are looking at the fiscals every week, looking at all the, really managing this relationship very well and aggressively. That's critical to do that. So failure to complete the development, you'd have a completion guarantee, and your management, you'd have a program management staff at the city level watching periodically, or very frequently periodically, the performance of the development group on the casino. So it takes oversight by the city to really watch that happen. And you'll hire consultants for that, et cetera, and you'll outsource that, and you'll have maybe a couple staff people that would supervise that. What happens if they make a mistake on the size? I think, you know, we're going to know a lot, but if they agree to a casino size, and we're dealing with this on a project right now where they want to change the deal, but you're going to have a development agreement between you and the developer that's going to be very clear. And you just don't issue an occupancy permit until you're satisfied that you've gotten all the lien waivers that you need. You need all these documentations that have to meet the terms and conditions of the development agreement. You just don't issue occupancy permits. And believe me, they want to earn as much money as they can, so they're going to be fighting to get that occupancy permit as quickly as they can. Success is less than projected. We have to understand, is it a management problem? Is it a market problem? Is it a strategy problem? So once we understand that, we have to make it may be a penalty that's assessed to the operator because they didn't perform properly. Or it may be there was an error made in all the judgments that got to it, and the materiality is a point where it's outside that 15% range that I said, and that's just a mistake that happens, or there's an economic downturn or something that happens. In those kinds of cases, we're dealing with this across the country now because of COVID and how tourism dollars are hit. So those budgets are all going to have to be recalibrated and readjusted. Don't think that's the case here because it hadn't started yet. So we want to make sure you launch with the right numbers. But if there is an error, then you just modify that, but you continue going on with the business introduction. And then if it's their fault, you penalize them. And I think the same thing in the delays for opening. I mean, we're talking big money with respect to penalties that you charge them for being late in terms of, you know, equaling the tax revenues that you would have collected for those days. Reputation damage, it really depends on what happens. So if something happens that there's a big event, I own the World Trade Center license for Chicago, and 9/11 comes up, and so World Trade Centers, do they have a reputation issue? Yes, they do. So there are sensitivities and things that can happen, and we have to judge, is it a Waukegan issue or is it the operator issue? And if it's the operator issue, we have tactics we employ, and then we, you know, use insurance and things to deal with public relations. All those types of things have to be dealt with. But I think you're very tactical, and that's why you have a couple of employees that do nothing but think about the gaming industry and these types of issues on a day-to-day basis inside the city and capture so you're aware of what's going on 100%. So that ends our prepared remarks, and I'd be pleased to answer any questions that you all may have.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Does the council have any, or the committee have any questions? Alderman Turner?
Thank you. Excellent presentation. When was that study done? When did you put that together?
We finished it in May-ish, I believe.
So I've got a few questions here. And wasn't clear, you mentioned that there were 5 proposals that were submitted to the council that we sent down or had an option to send down to Springfield to the Gaming Commission, but then one one was not included, and then one dropped out, right?
Yes, sir.
So your average, is it based on the 5 proposals or on the 3?
On the 4.
On the 4,
There were 6. One dropped out.
right?
And we did not advance one. All right, so there are 4 legitimate observations that are still in the hunt.
Okay, cool, thank you. You said that the casino, in your estimation, would require more fire services. Why? Are there going to be more fires out there, or?
No, it's just another building.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to say. It's not material, but I don't know if you have a hook and ladder, for example, that goes 12 stories or 15 stories. We don't know how big this hotel is going to be, so we just want to prepare you. There may be some certain things like that, and that's, you may negotiate with the developer to have them fund that.
Yeah.
There's a whole variety of things, but, it's just a layer of volume.
Okay.
It's not going to be big. It's just going to be like any other normal hotel that's got 10 times bigger than the average hotel.
So I also, in your presentation, you did not reference any economic impact from the sale of the land, right? So we had those 4 proposals. They all said, hey, one guy was going to give us $33 million cash money, I believe, and then there was a whole, so.
I remember our whole discussion on that.
Yeah,
You're
so
correct.
what-
We do not have the land in there.
Right.
So we're going to ask a separate land deal.
Okay.
And, you're correct. So we still have, that number is still, I think, subject to negotiation. So I don't think you have a hard deal yet on that, and that's additive to the numbers.
I mean, if you took the average of the 4 proposals, and you could say, well, you come up with, $6 million, or whatever that number.
It'll be at least 12.
At least 12. So what would be the immediate impact of a $12 million or $12 million infusion into the city budget? Immediately. I mean, they're going to buy the land, give us $12 million check.
Yeah.
What happens then? Is that a good thing, or is that?
But that's a good thing.
And number 5, then, I'm not quite clear why the city should take any kind of management role in a business. We don't do that with any other business. We don't manage grocery stores or gas stations or restaurants. We don't monitor them on a continual basis or hire employees to monitor and provide oversight on, are they making the money that they said they were going to make, and that kind of thing. So why would we take that position here?
Actually, you do. You have a property assessor, don't you? You have someone that thinks about your property taxes every day, all day long, and that's actually at the county level. All right, so, but that's the example. I think this is a big impact on your budget, and so I think it's so big in materiality that, it's a 20% increase. That probably deserves its own special of attention. And I think you may want to ask, are there other areas where we should be paying more attention?
Yeah, I wouldn't ask that. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Alderman Florian?
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Johnson, I just want to reiterate that I have a copy of the written proposal you gave us here, and on the very first page, you say that the findings presented herein reflect an analysis of primary and secondary sources of information. Johnson Consulting used sources deemed to be reliable but cannot guarantee their accuracy. Okay, I just want to point that out. So you use the numbers from the proposals we were submitted, or we were given, right?
After we judged them and said, one's probably on the higher quadrant, one may be a little lower, but we did assess them for realm of reasonableness.
Okay. I probably have about 20 questions here, but I'm not going to ask them all. I'm going to just get to the most important ones, I think. So,
Thank you, Alderman.
At one point, you showed a chart with the
We can get back to it.
The estimated annual net new fiscal impact. So part of what...
With gaming or without gaming?
I'm sorry?
With gaming or without gaming?
With gaming, or I'm sorry, without. This is on page 18 of my written thing here.
I'll try, I think the preceding, the next, one more.
Sales tax, hotel, no, it's that one. I think
Okay.
it's that one. So you have 27 million in tax revenue down there, but you include the 16 million in property taxes, and those are gonna go into a separate fund. So in my opinion, this 27 really should be more like 11, right? Because that 16 isn't gonna, for 23 years, we're not gonna get that money. It's going into a separate fund. I mean, you
It's still
indicate that,
generated. I mean, you still
well,
have.
it is generated, but it's not spendable by us.
The wealth of the community goes up by that amount.
But that money all gets spent, correct me if I'm wrong, Noel, gets spent in the TIF district.
Yes.
It has to be spent in that district surrounding the casino. Okay, well, I just want clarity on that number. It's not 27 million for the first 23 years. It's more like 11 million.
Plus, from the gaming, correct.
Okay.
And I'm not debating that.
Okay, I just wanted clarity on that, because it says on the next page, the net new fiscal impact of the proposed casino in Waukegan is estimated to be 27 million in sales tax. It's not 27 million, it's 11 million.
From the city's perspective, you're 100% correct.
Okay, and then the last thing I'll highlight is you compared us to Hammond, Indiana, you said. You thought that was a fair comparison. Their casino has 2,173 electronic gaming devices, what I would call a slot machine, right? We're projected to only have 1,390. Table gaming, which is the dice and all that stuff, right? Cards. They have 1,117, and we're projected to only have 55. I mean, that's a huge difference. I don't think that's comparing apples to apples. I don't think you can say we're going to do what they did. First of all, we're in a completely different location. And second of all, I mean, those numbers are very far apart.
Well, did Hammond do well? Yes. Do our numbers look
I'm sorry,
exactly
can
like
you speak in the
Hammond's?
mic, please?
Yeah. Do our numbers look exactly like Hammond's? No. Directionally, I think is what I'm trying to say, that they had really leveraged it, even though it was a little bit more denigrated than Waukegan. So it's in worse shape in many ways than Waukegan was, has issues. And I think, what they've done is they've been able to take that resource and use it to the advantage of really making it a stronger city. Proportionally, you'll be able to do exactly the same thing. It won't be exactly the same scale.
You make a point I argue with people about. So they tell us they are going to put a casino in a community like ours because we need a casino. We need the economic development. I argue they put a casino in a community like ours because this is where their customers are. And you just made that point in Hammond. They are worse off than we were. So they bring this casino in and woo, all of a sudden they're making all this money. Well, who are they making it off of? Their residents.
Actually, the reason that casino is so big is because they wanted to compete with all the Chicago casinos. So they are not getting it from their residents, they're getting it from Illinois residents. They're packing the preponderance, and I can guarantee you this, when I look at the employment and the numbers that are going to be generated here, you're going to be favoring your community, except Hammond has that big transfer opportunity. We don't have that transfer opportunity. We're still playing in the Illinois game.
Well, another reason not to compare us, in my opinion. I just have one more question. What's the average hourly wage of a casino worker?
It's changed because of minimum wages. I would say about $18 to $17 to $19 at the street level.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, any further questions?
I have a question. I believe you indicated one of the bidders dropped out. For the sake of our constituents, can you indicate which one dropped out?
I can't remember the names off my head. Noel, do you?
trying to remember.
WD Enterprises, I believe.
What's his Hopper that dropped
Was it North Point, Fuller House, Rivers?
Those made it, but it was the gentleman with the Dushy Swall and the ties to
Higginbottom.
Churchill Gaming.
Well, they combined with Rivers.
I'm sorry, what was your answer?
I can pull that up real quick. Bear with me. I'd like to know.
Okay.
Alderman Hayes also.
Oh, Alderman Hayes?
I do have a question when he's finished.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the
I'll
response.
get back with
He's
you on that.
looking it up.
Oh, thank you.
Instead, I'll do that and then I'll email it to Noel.
It's not me that asked, it's her.
Okay, I'll get that to Noel. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Johnson. I have a question for you. You said you were retained to conduct an independent assessment, but everything that you're presenting to us seems to be positive and persuasively almost. It seems like you're trying to persuade us in favor of a casino. My question for you is, what's the negative impact on the community of a casino? What have you found in conducting your independent assessment that weighs against having a casino in Waukegan?
Second to last slide, if you would. I think the slide 860, 50. All right, so the slide that had the police, let me get to the right slide for you. Okay, slide 14. All right. So the question is, I think the theory is in a lot of places that when you have a casino, there's a crime goes up.
Yep.
All right, and I think that I think the evidence is that crime, the personal casualty, I grew up in Orlando, and we have a lot of crime in the hotels and things of that nature. So you will see an increase of that, but violent crime does not happen. It does not pick up. And so the incidences of the negatives are just the ability to manage it properly, as well as deal with the infrastructure issues. And other than that, it's been a financial boon to the communities that have had it. And I think, you've seen that across the board. There has been declines of demand once more competitions come in. Illinois started off with a mandatory on the water. So a lot of things were associated with undoing and unwinding that and repositioning those types of things. I had not seen a negative, really harmful consequence in a lot of the casino markets that I've worked in. Mm-hmm. It's really been an energy driver that's provided opportunity. Now, people who don't like gaming, I think that they can invent and also commentary, but I don't think the evidence shows that. When you look at this, the actual statistical data on crime, on use of utilities and things, I think it's just like any other business. And, it's just a tourism and hospitality business.
Sure. And I understand that we're not here tonight to debate the merits of a casino, whether to have one or not at this juncture. But I think we're ignoring a really important component to having a casino in Waukegan, is that it's the households of Waukegan and the surrounding areas that drive the revenue that goes to the casino. And while the city, of course, wants to increase its tax base, and we want, the sales tax, and we want some money, the money has to come from the households. So I think we're ignoring a very critical component when we don't analyze and conduct an independent assessment of the impact on the individual homeowners, their income, their disposable income, their discretionary income, and what happens to the community at that level. We're talking about tax base for the city, but we're not talking about what happens to the individual homeowners.
So you're looking at the wealth of the individual homeowners. All right. And what we have not seen that be a consequence either. There are gaming addiction issues. There's no question about that. I think the statistic is about 10 million nationally. So the incidence of gaming from the local residents, we don't know what that statistic is. My suspicion is it's not going to be anywhere near a big portion of that. And the gaming companies do have issues to deal with gaming addictions and things. They have pretty vibrant programs in that regard. So it's just a matter of your judgment of what your residents will see, I think that there's an increase in wealth in the community that can be taken advantage of if it's managed properly.
Thank you for your response.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Johnson?
Yes, I have one.
Oh, yes, we do have an answer for Alderman Bolton.
Thank you.
Alderman Bolton, it was Waukegan Development Associates, the Casino Fontana.
I'm sorry, can you speak at the mic?
Casino Fontana by Waukegan Development Associates.
it
That was
dropped
the
off.
one that withdrew.
Thank you.
I have one last question. My understanding, we're not only just offering a casino, but also theater and other forms of entertainment. Can you clarify? Thanks.
There has not been a casino that's at this scale that doesn't have a full complement of entertainment options. And I think, the overall goal is to have, it'll have a concert area. It'll have a stage where, the Celine Dion type acts can happen. Those types of things will be at this type of venue. There'll be sports booking. There'll be a variety of things of that nature. A restaurant scene will exist there. So it's a full entertainment venue as well as, and I think, there's a desire to make it even as much entertainment oriented as possible.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no other questions, thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. Okay, the next presentation that we're going to have is by Sun and Us LLC, and we have Ed and Lewis. And folks, this is a presentation on the availability of solar power for our residents.
Hello, everybody. My name is Louis Mercado. I'm born and raised here in Waukegan, 50 years.
Can you get closer to the mic? Yeah.
So I'm a 50-year resident of Waukegan, born and raised here. And solar is a business that my partner and I, Ed, started a couple years ago in 2018. With over 55 years of experience in retail sales, door-to-door sales, and warehouse distribution, Ed and Lewis decided to unite and launch a promotion and marketing firm specializing in social, economic, and environmental projects. We mainly focused on cable companies, alarm companies, and marketed them for the last 30 years, successfully door-to-door, and other types of marketing. And our mission statement is, make an impact in people's lives is the heart and soul of Sun and Us LLC. Our focus is to educate people from all walks of life on how we can save our world from detrimental, non-renewable hazards. We are fighting for our world and for every person who inhabits it. As our planet continues to fight to survive, all people, no matter how diverse, can become a superhero. Superheroes can be defined by their ability to save our planet. At Sun and Us LLC, whether you are presenting a renewable product or purchasing a renewable product, you are saving the world, and now you can consider yourself a superhero. We partner with some of the largest companies in solar and some other trusted partners that you guys can see the slides up here. And we cover everything from wind, solar farms, mainly rooftop solar has been our forte for the last 3 years since 2018. And it's opened up all these other opportunities for people who don't want to get rooftop solar, or may not like the look of it, or may not understand it, or may not have the money to purchase it. We have other options available that we've explored just from getting into this business. Initially, we started off as a rooftop solar company for residential and commercial. We partner with all these chambers, Waukegan, Gurnee, Antioch, Des Plaines, GMLV, which is Green Oaks, Mundelein, Libertyville, and Vernon Hills, Rockford, Aurora, and Chicago. We belong to all these associations for the state of Illinois, Illinois Commerce Commission, Illinois Power Agency, Illinois Solar Energy Association, and Illinois Energy Conservation Authority, NFP. All these things, what they mean is that we are regarded as one of the premier solar providers for the state. Being here from Waukegan, there was something that was presented recently to the city for rooftop solar for some of their buildings. I looked it over and realized that there's a lot of incentives that are given by the state and the federal government that Waukegan was not receiving. So we volunteered, my partner and I, Ed, to look over any other proposals. We can throw our head in the ring also to see if because we can certainly provide some of these services ourselves. But we mainly wanted to get the word out. Being from Waukegan, and everyone should go solar, whether it's with us or anyone else. We want to provide the information that everyone needs to make these decisions. One, because they could be very costly, but mainly because you could be giving up a lot of benefits that you are entitled to by going solar. All these programs mean a lot of good things. The main thing is the environmental impact is what we're after. The money portion of it, that's important too because it all costs money. So we wanted to get the information out from whatever type of effort you want to do, whether it's community meetings, anything you know that you guys feel, would be helpful. Ed heads up our solar side, and I'm going to turn it over to him.
So I want to thank you guys for having us. Sun Solar, we're dedicated to helping people understand the opportunity they have for any type of energy that's renewable in Illinois. I don't think Lewis talked about this, but Lewis and I may not look, he especially, but we retired after working Comcast for almost 30 years each. So we decided we want to do something for our communities. I'm from Gurnee, Lewis is from Waukegan. We have a bunch of kids and a lot of grandkids between us, and renewable energy just seemed like something we'd be able to give back to the communities. So far it was just Lewis and I that started, and if you can see the numbers, a lot of you guys back there probably can't see it, but we've got over 15,000 kilowatts of energy put on people's homes right now. If you look at the largest solar field in the state of Illinois, we've over tripled it for the amount of solar panels we put on people's rooftops. That being said, what we feel like is that people don't understand the opportunity that have been given to them for solar. Your constituents, they have people come to their door, but people don't explain the value that the state offers and that the federal government's offered to get solar, renewable in general, on people's roofs. So what we're really doing here today is we're basically volunteering our services to you guys to let you know we'll come to your meetings and explain it in an ethical and unbiased manner. Tell people about their opportunity to get solar on their roof, whether it be, there's a few different opportunities to get it, and to help them understand that if you can't get it on your roof for one reason or another, there are other avenues for people to get savings and renewable energy and not spend an arm and a leg, and maybe not even spend any money to get something on their roof that can save the world. There's just a million different ways to do it. The other thing we wanted to bring about is, and I don't know if many people here know what's going on with a PACE program. PACE program is mainly in Illinois for businesses, commercial. Lewis, if you can go to the next slide, I think we start there. PACE program for businesses, especially in Waukegan, Gurnee, Lake County, where people may need help to get energy savings and equipment on a building that may not often be available because they're expensive endeavors when you own a business and you own a building. The PACE program is an opportunity. There's only 13 counties now that are available to get the PACE program in. And what it is it helps business people get solar on their roof, no money out of pocket, and it rolls into their property tax payments. Lake County, believe it or not, is signing as we speak to be part of the PACE program, giving the business owners the opportunity to get financing for commercial projects and roll into their property taxes. It's no money out of pocket to the business owner. They save from the first day, and they also get all the benefits of ownership, SRECs, which are renewable energy certificates, federal tax credits, depreciation. This program helps the owner own their system in about 4 years, and then it's all revenue to the owner because they're no longer paying a ComEd bill. We wanted to talk about that and say our services are free. We're a CPACE member. We're on there. It's a volunteer, or it's a nonprofit organization. We're known as leaders in the industry in consultations and helping people understand what it is. We don't do the financing. We just help provide people the option of learning about it and moving forward with it. So it's almost a volunteer piece. So we're willing to meet with constituents as well. This will be a good community for it, and help you move forward. So the last thing is, these are the counties. Lake County's up there now, but it hasn't quite signed off on yet, but we're expecting by the end of the month. And then the last thing is, and I've got some handouts to leave with everybody or leave up front, is we have a YouTube channel we support. Our company website is www.sunussolar. You can find a lot of great blog information about solar. We would just want to educate everybody. Our biggest fear is that people will come into your homes or come into here and not educate you on solar and how it works and what your rights are, because you have rights in Illinois. A lot of you might not even know this. We're waiting for the new law to pass to refund or to fund the SREC bucket again, and we'd love to talk to people about that piece of it and how Illinois supports solar in here. And then we're on the Better Business. We're A+ rated business on Better Business. We're an ICC member, which is the Illinois Commerce Commission, and we're an IPACE member for nonprofit organizational help. So we're glad to be of service to any of you guys that want to invite us to meetings. For anybody who is a constituent who wants to learn about solar, wants to be part of a program, we actually offer jobs, and we have several job openings in different parts of the community. We have a kiosk over at the Gurney Mall. We got, that we need help with. So if people are looking for jobs, we can go onto our website and apply. We do a bunch of other different things, and we love our communities, and we just want to be part of it, help move us forward. And I think that's it. Any questions?
Any questions from the committee?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you gentlemen coming out and giving us this information. I think it's important for everyone to know what their options are regarding renewable energy. And just so you know, we are having a 7th Ward meeting here in Council Chambers on September 9th, and a similar presentation will be given regarding the opportunities for solar for our constituents. So again, gentlemen, thank you so much for your presentation. At this time,
I make a motion to
I
adjourn.
will receive a motion to adjourn the meeting by Alderman Florian, second by Alderman Hayes. Roll call, or all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. The meeting has ended at 7:45.
Wow.
Thank you.